Stay completely still.
So I am going to start, Alfie, by making this really awkward for you, but I kind of have to because you're absolutely phenomenal in this movie and the world needs to know it. Erin and Jodie, can you tell me the very first thing you saw him do on this set that made you two stop and go, like, that right there is a star?
Yeah, I was hugely impressed with Alfie's, just his focus and his energy every single day. I mean, he was so switched on and gave it his all, and terrific to work with. I mean, to have collaborative conversations with Danny and come up with great thoughts and opinions on his character in the scenes. I mean, he is truly came to work prepared every day, so it was very impressive. Emotionally, just like emotional scenes, just like
I think we both seen it when we were in the rehearsal period. Kind of you sat around a table with a group of adults, and Alfie would always, he'd know all his lines, he'd have thoughts about his intentions of the scene, he'd ask really intelligent and like thought-provoking questions, and there was just like a level of confidence that he had that was like, I was like, wow, it's so beautiful to see that in such a young person and be able to like be a part of command a space like that. But yeah, we're very proud of him.
Yeah, you definitely see it in the movie. His choices, his character goes on such a journey, and you really see that.
Yeah, the way you shoulder all that really is something else. I want to give you an opportunity, Alfie, to give them some flowers right back, because our press notes stress that you learned a lot from them, and you even applied some of what you saw them do on this set to your own work in the movie. So it was making me wonder, can you tell me something that you saw each of them do that you were able to back pocket and eventually use yourself making the film?
I think just watching them before they got into a scene, how they could just like the different techniques like they used to get ready for a scene. I mean, Aaron, we'd start jumping around and but Jodie was just, she would just like sit and she was just focused and she was like zen. you like so ready. And I mean, both of them, they're absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't ask for a better mom and dad. Great.
I'm going to continue to send some flowers your way as well, because I do an interview series and I end those interviews with this question all the time, but it feels really applicable to your situation because it's like your first time headlining a movie and it should be celebrated. Find that in this industry, everybody is really good at giving each other awards, but nobody ever tells themselves good job as much as they should. So Alfie, I want to know something you accomplished making 28 years later that you're always going to be able to look back on and say, you know what? I am so proud of what I did right there.
Well, I think it's just being part of a film, I mean, that's always been my dream since I was like, I don't know, like 6, and I've accomplished it, and it's fantastic. The film, it's great, and I'm just happy that, one day if I have children, or I could show them and say that was me when I was a kid, and I've always got this film to look back on and remember.
It's going to be this film and many, many more. I know it to my core. So this is Alfie's first time around. Erin and Jodie, you have a lot of experience, but Danny's pretty well known for using innovative filmmaking techniques. So did the two of you experience any filmmaking first because of how he likes to push it and try new things in that respect?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most days were definitely a new experience for me and for us. I think, very creative. I mean, he was experimenting with these different cameras and different rigs and stuff, and it just sort of, and not always with a sense of like, this is how it's going to work. Like some things he'd be like, look, I don't know. And that was quite refreshing because it meant that there was this freedom of space to make mistakes, but be creative and find something new. So he's exceptional. I mean, when you're hands of Danny, who's got such an enthusiasm and this great energy, he really makes you feel in the safest of hands.
Yeah. I'll squeeze in a backstory question before they kick me out of here, because when we, Erin and Jodie, when we meet your characters in the movie, their relationship isn't like in its prime. It's not in its strongest state. So it was making me wonder, did you two do any backstory work for that relationship? Perhaps coming up with things that we don't necessarily see or hear directly in the movie, but are informing your performances and can at least ensure that as an outsider only experiencing a small part of their story, we could still feel like what was lost from the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I feel like there was definitely a lot of love there in their relationship. But we had this 2-week period before in the rehearsal period to really kind of dive into how they may have found each other, how, their relationship to the community, the island. I think there's one thing that they both, can agree on is that they adore their son and they've raised their son in this community. It's only when it comes the day I take him off the mainland that you really get a sense that there's a little bit of tension between the two. And then, maybe my character's in a lot of denial of his wife's condition. So it's fractured and it's complex. And I like that humanity, that sort of human flawed aspect of it. But yeah, we talked a lot about, the backstory.
Yeah.
To kind of feel like it was grounded in something.
Yeah, it was like you say, it was important for us to understand that, and then honestly, you then have to kind of forget it when you get onto set because you're faced with the material in front of you and where they are at this present moment. But yeah, it was always important for us to feel that we knew the history before they got to this point.
I think Spike can see that as well. He witnesses it, and yeah, he totally, he kind of watches his family kind of separate,
I always liked that you felt that Isla was maybe named after the island, so she was an islander, or maybe it was a second home or something that your father had taken you there in when the event happened. It was sort of like first place solace to go to, so that you kind of knew that community more. Like there was.
Yeah, I felt like she always had a connection to it prior to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's I mean, we yeah. We went deep.
There's little
we
things.
went a bit deep. We went deep.
We did a little bit of homework.
Yeah. But it's true. You got to forget it away. I like Jodie. It's like, yeah, but when you get a set, you've got to throw it. It's like, yeah, I know, Teddy. It really hurt.
It's important.
One of the things that wows me most is when you kind of throw all that stuff out the window, but I could still somewhat feel it, even though I'm not aware of the specifics, making their world whole. And I think all three of you do that exceptionally well. Huge congratulations on this movie. It was so worth the wait.
Thank you so
thanks.
much.